So I thought it might be interesting to look at why I have spent the last day or two kind of curating my TTRPG PDF libraries and making sure that they were all in kind of readable file names and inside folders and structured correctly. And ultimately, the answer is I want to be able to use them. Um, I settled on a tool called Komga. I had a look at a few others, including Calibre and Cavita and a few others. But for my use case, which is I kind of want this in a web browser that I can host, or a service that I can host and access through a web browser, ideally in a tablet like an iPad or an Android tablet, and navigate with touch. Conga seemed easiest for that. It is designed for comic books and for manga, which meant that there were definitely some limitations that I had to kind of work around. Um, the most kind of obvious of that is that inside a library, and you can see that I've got multiple libraries down here. Each of these systems that you can see listed down the left hand side is a library, but inside Komga, um, every folder, regardless of how many levels deep that folder lies, every folder within a library um, is considered a series, and the contents of each folder are the books within that series. Um, and that meant that if you had one single library to manage all of your RPGs, you would want your first level folders to be the RPG systems like Delta Green and then Dolmenwood and so on. Then these would all be considered series. But if, for example, you had a folder within Delta Green called Core Rules, and you had a folder within Dolmenwood called Core or Core Rules, and you had a folder within DCC called Core, pointing out I should maybe change the name of this, but it doesn't matter for now, then you would have in your series section, you'd have 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 different series, all called Core, and presumably they would all have some kind of similar rulebook title like um, Player's Handbook or Player's Book or something like that, you know. Um, and so, yeah, it needs only one layer of folders for any kind of organization to work, and that meant that every system had to be its own library, um, with a few exceptions that we'll get to. Um, and then for organizational purposes, so I made a system library, so Delta Green we'll use as an example, and then to organize that, I made a bunch of quote-unquote series, which would contain the different types of materials that I have for those things. So Delta Green has the core rules in a folder, it has the campaigns in a folder, um, it has scenarios and so on. Um, Dungeon Crawl Classics has a bunch more because they have different lines like the horror line and specific campaigns that maybe need extra. Land of Aim is super straightforward because it's a brand new system. Some of the interesting ones that we have are OSR and D&D compatible, and this is just a bunch of stuff that fits with OSE or BX or similar old school D&D type games, but isn't an official product. I'm going to put in here. Other systems is for systems that I don't really play enough or care enough about to have their own library, or that are small lines like Dresden Accelerated. It's essentially just a lore book. I enjoy the novels, and Dresden Accelerated is another piece of canon lore for that series. It is only a single book, so I'm not putting it in its own library. D&D 5e compatible. None of this is WotC stuff. This is the old Goodman Games stuff, I think. Might be interesting to read, but probably won't ever play. An interesting tidbit is in Shadowdark, in the Curse of Scrolls section, there are 5 books, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. You can see this is numbered number 5, but it's issue number 6. They developed number 4 and number 6 at the same time. Number 5 came out today, so I need to revisit this and kind of change everything already. But the way that this works, it works on PC or or tablet, but essentially I want to use it on tablet with touch, so it's going to be a bit clunky using a mouse. But I would find a book that I want. I want to read the Delta Green book. I come into Delta Green, I come into Core, I click into the Agent's Guide, and it just loads it up in a reader. And then I can start scrolling through. I'll use the arrow keys to start scrolling through. And obviously you can do this with a browser with either tapping to the left or the right of the screen, or you can swipe. And then you can just come back up here and hit back. So it's really useful, I think, for organizing PDFs. It's why I spent so much time organizing my library and renaming my library and just collecting my library, bringing it in from different places, like between Drive-Thru RPG and Bits and Mortar and Exalted Funerals Direct website and publishers' own websites and retailers' own websites. I had PDFs everywhere. H.io, Humble Bundle, Bag of Holding. It was ridiculous, or Bundle of Holding or whatever it's called. But now they're all in one place. I've got them locally. I can probably put them in a OneDrive or a Google Drive to have some cloud storage as well. But the important thing is I've got a cheap Android tablet. I'm going to put it into browser kiosk mode with the only website it can access being this. And it's just going to be a portable TTRPG library, which I think will be really useful. Anyway, I don't know why I'm showing it off, mostly because I spent days organizing the file structure to make it readable. And as I'm showing it off, I see some inconsistencies and I'm going to have to revisit them. But for now, it works. That's the main thing.